Hey everyone, welcome to Adobe Max 2023. I hope you're having a fantastic time wherever you are watching. I'm having a great time. I'm here with VooDoo Val.
Hi!
And oh, by the way, my name is Spencer Nugent. My apologies. I'm an industrial designer. I'm all over. I've been on Adobe Live as well. So we're gonna dive into what Val's got to show us today. I believe she's gonna be showing us some of the freshest and best stuff that Photoshop has to offer right now.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some illustration, and I'm going to show, kind of an illustration process that I use often, but how I've kind of integrated a lot of the new generative features into that process in a way that I think has been really, really helpful for me as an illustrator. So I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, we can get right into it.
Yeah, we can kind of dive right in.
It's a pretty exciting time, I think. Technology-wise, we have all this generative technology. I mean, Adobe's tools are already fantastic.
Yeah.
Certainly, Photoshop is a favorite of so many people, and they have put so much more in. I do want to mention real quick, be sure to subscribe to the Adobe Live channel on YouTube as well, and you can check us out on Instagram at Adobe Live.
So what I'm going to be doing is I've got like this fantasy brooch, like it's got like your little pin, like if you can imagine this as like pinning somebody's cloak together, that sort of thing. And I'm going to go through how I kind of illustrate and add like some really great textures and things to this.
Okay.
And
I think I saw a TikTok once of someone using those. They're pretty cool.
They're super neat. So you just like pull the fabric through that ring, you know. It reminds me of it's very Shire, or very like Hand of the King, Game of Thrones kind of brooch,
Okay.
So I'm just going to get into illustrating and talk a little bit about how the newer features have like come to play into my process, and then I'll give you guys a little demo of how this stuff has been pretty fabulous for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide some of these top design things because we're going to focus on this ring I've got going here, and I'm just going to quickly kind of bring this into a 3D space because I do want to kind of pull it
3D
into
space. Okay.
Well, not like 3D, but how I like to illustrate 3D.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm going to use just locking transparency to illustrate the outer ring. And what I like to do is grab like a nice chunky brush and sampling some colors, and then just like kind of do like an inside, outside, like almost like a gradient. You could actually use a gradient for this, but I like to paint it.
That's really cool. Like you can see the texture as well and kind of get a sense already.
Yeah, like it
maybe
kind
I'm
of looks
getting
like
ahead
metal.
of you here, but
no,
this
that's
is really
perfect.
cool. It's a really cool technique. Giant brush with a little texture, highlight. That's awesome.
I usually look for like charcoal brushes when I do a thing like this because I really like the texture that charcoal has to offer. And what I do is I've got these two circles here to kind of be the inside and outside of this ring, and I think that you can get a lot of like really awesome realistic texture in this regard if you do like kind of illustrate a ring or something similar to this in separate pieces.
It's always interesting seeing how everyone works in Adobe products. Like as an industrial designer, I would do this totally different.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see you use locking transparency. For me, it's selecting or masking. But I think the best technique really is the one that just works for you. Exactly.
Yeah. And I have to say, if you guys have not checked out Spencer's work, it is kind of I think the first time I saw your pieces, I was like, I could not even approach like doing this myself. It is like so mind-blowing and so wonderful and incredible. So definitely check out Spencer's work. You will not regret
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. This is your moment.
But I think that you're great, Spencer.
Well, I appreciate that.
Technically, we're sharing the moment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. By the way, this is the first time that I've met Val in real life.
Yeah.
This is kind of cool. So
we've been nerding out behind the scenes.
Adobe Max bringing people together.
Yep. So doing the same exact technique on the inside ring, then this starts to look like metal. you know, and it's literally just like this large shape that is separated out into pieces, which I can illustrate separately and start to kind of bring that that good design and like detail in. And what I like to do at this point usually is I will go find a texture of sorts that I can lay in on these layers with clipping masks and things. And I'll just like throw a texture in, and I will use blending modes to kind of like embed that into the texture I've laid down, and then add some more painting over the top of it. But one of the things that I really like to do now with the generative features within Photoshop is to create my own custom textures. So what I like to do is I'll come in and I'll make a new layer. And I've got my contextual
So this
task
is all
bar
in
up.
Photoshop.
Yes.
You're not using Firefly. Okay.
Yeah, I'm jumping straight in, just staying within Photoshop. So I have my contextual taskbar up, and if you don't see it in your Photoshop, you can just select it by going Window, Contextual Taskbar. I also, Andrew Hockrattle cleared this up for me because
I know exactly what you're going to say.
it moves around when I paint.
Yep.
And for somebody who is like more stationary in their workspace, it might not be such a big deal, but if you're an illustrator like me, every time you like do something, the taskbar's like, do you need me? Do you need me over here?
I
like to pin it.
I was like, what do you mean if the contextual bar is there? It's there.
It's there.
That's the thing, it's there. So I do the same thing and I pin it.
Yeah, so I
don't
love
want
to
it all over my stuff.
I like to add it like it's like meshed into the, you know. So that works for me. So if you are getting used to having the contextual taskbar in the space, this is a great way to like, you know, use it, and then it's not all over the place.
Y'all are so lucky you get to see Val's process. You already got two things. We got the little brush technique with the layer organization. Right?
Trying, yeah.
And now we're pinning the contextual bar. What are we going to do next?
So now we're going to create ourselves some custom textures and things. So I just have created a new layer here, and I am going to Control A just to select my canvas, and then I'm going to do Generative Fill, which the contextual taskbar will ask me, is this what you need? Why, yes, contextual taskbar, that is what I need.
That's pretty cool. So you're just going to type some stuff in there.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is typically for this, what I really like to do is like swirling charcoal textures, or something that, you know, that I would search for if I was looking for resources online. So we could do like swirling charcoal texture, or we could do, you know what would be better?
This is the part I kind of struggle with sometimes.
Marbled charcoal
By the way,
texture.
chat, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot. I am paying attention. Shout out to everyone saying hello. We love you too.
In shades of earthy purple.
I
think maybe I should spell shades right. That would probably help us.
You know,
I
struggle that way too. I get it.
I don't think I can get through a single live stream typing without spelling something wrong at least once for you folks. So that works for me. We're going to try this, and I'm going to go ahead and generate. And so this is going to do some thinking, and it's going to give me like just like a full canvas spread of like some interesting textures. And I'll show you how I like to reuse and reorganize and come back to previous textures in a moment. But yeah, so this is pretty cool.
All right.
This is like kind of a marbly texture that I would really love to use and overlay in my work. There are some of them that I like more than others, but what I'll do is say I really like this one, maybe that one works for me. What I'll do is I will duplicate with Control J, and then I will rasterize this. And then I will actually delete my mask because I don't need that layer mask. So now I just have like this image that is the marble texture that I liked. And then this one though, here, if I come back here, I still have all the versions of this that I found. I can generate some other ones. So I'll use that other one that I rasterized and just made it like, this is a texture I'll use.
It doesn't take very long either. And someone said this looks kind of like paint. That's from Cody Bear. It reminds me of the inside of old book covers that my parents used to have.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm aging myself here.
You know what? I know about them.
Remember
so if
those?
You're aging yourself,
okay.
then we're both old today. But I really like this one. I like all these other, like, kind of textures that are mixed in with that marbling. So I'm going to say that one is great. This one's also great because it kind of has like this rust color.
Cool. Sometimes
this
it's so
great.
hard to choose.
I like these first two here. So what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead and duplicate with Control J again, and I'm going to just rasterize that. And delete that layer mask, and then we'll do that with this one as well, because I loved this one. And I still, even though I've kind of got all of the ones that I like really now, I do still like to keep that original generative layer.
I was just about to ask, because it looked like you did the keyboard duplicate thing.
Yeah, so then I have like the textures that I loved from that.
That's
I can use them.
Work non-destructively.
Yes, absolutely. But I can always return to this one that has all the ones that I've kind of made. I can start editing and I can do another prompt if I decide I need something else, whatever it is. Maybe I want to come in here, I'll hide these just for the sake of like doing this. Maybe I want to do, let's say, textured metal with rusted patches. Let's say textured metal, I don't want to say plating, we could say a sheet. I don't know. It might not know what I want.
I can't tell you how many times I've searched for rusted metal online or textured metal. So
I do it all the time.
I get it.
So
this is pretty cool because you're getting something completely unique.
Yeah, every time. And I have so many different ways that this is perfect.
It's so good.
This is perfect.
It's so good. So one thing I've been looking into personally in my work is using generative technology to create textures to make brushes. A lot of people know me, I make brushes here and there. And this is really cool because it'll save time and you get something like completely different.
Yeah, and I think that is, I never even really thought about using the textures I generate to make myself a brush, but that's definitely something I will experiment with now that you've said it, because I just think that's brilliant. So now I've got some marbled, charcoal-y texture, images here, and I've also got like a cool rusted metal. So now I can come in with clipping masks and start to experiment with like applying these in the same way that I would have used, like gone to hunt for a stock image or something for this particular segment. So let's come over here and let's do like on our outer ring here.
All right.
Our outside ring. And I'm just gonna make this a clipping mask. And I'm going to zoom in here. Let's do a little.
Okay, I have a confession to make.
Okay. Confession time.
I don't entirely understand clipping masks.
Okay. No, that's fine.
I try to avoid them because they just trip me up. They just always trip me up. So.
I did not understand clipping masks for a long time. It wasn't part of my process.
Yeah.
And I had a need for it for a while, but it wasn't intuitive and like useful for my process. Like I didn't understand why you would need it until I sat down and I'm like, well, let's figure it out. So for my personal process, I like to be able to do the locking transparency so I can paint directly inside of that. But the clipping masks allows me to start layering stuff, and it's like a way of working non-destructively. It kind of does. I use it the same way that I would use the locking transparency, but if I like this, like I've overlaid it. Now let's, go throw a blending mode on it. Maybe like darken is a little too harsh. I'm thinking maybe an overlay, honestly.
Okay,
Color
see,
dodge
this I'm familiar
cool.
with. This is the effect hunting game.
Yeah.
Where we just scroll until we find what looks good.
Yep. And I have like certain blending modes that I'm like, okay, I know that I'm probably going to like this one, but I like to cycle through them all just in case.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do too is I'm going to kind of shrink this, only because I think that I want to get more of the marble detail instead of the kind of spread out, stretched out. I just want more of that. So I'm going to come in. Yeah, because then I get like more of those notes around the edges, which looks pretty cool. And I'm also thinking maybe soft light isn't a good one. I think I want to kind of brighten that outside edge up. So doing like a screen could be interesting. And then I would come in and make a new layer and make that layer a clipping mask. If I can, there we go. Create a clipping mask. And then I would come in and like kind of start, like maybe here I don't really like how the texture is applied, but I'll like, start my painting process again here, and start like, maybe this is going to be like a metal ring that has like these purple notes in it, which I really like. Surprise, surprise, I like purple and maroon. I'm sure nobody is shocked. But then I kind of paint the textures in when I use textures in my work. So I'll come in and add a little something,
In this case, do you play with the opacity of layers much, or do you just... Are you more of a brush opacity person or layer opacity?
I think that it depends because I use a lot of textured brushes. So changing the opacity of my brushes sometimes affects how its texture is applied to my canvas. So sometimes I like to use 100% opacity with my brush and then just lower the fill or opacity of the layer itself.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've kind of like painted this in. I really like this texture that's up here and I don't really want to ruin it, so I'm gonna leave it. But if I wanted to try, I would just make a new clipping mask. If I can stop showing off my Wi-Fi to you guys every time I try to click on a layer, we can get through this. But this is like, I'm doing the same thing like I mentioned earlier that I would do if I was using lock transparency, but I can be like, you know what, I don't like that I added that there, so I'm gonna remove it, whatever. And then once I get it the way I wanted, I would turn it into a smart object. So it's all like kind of sandwiched nicely together. But I really liked how this looks, And then I would do the same thing for the other one, but I feel like maybe we will, use some adjustment layers, honestly, just to throw. I do like this one, and I want it to be different than what we use, so we're going to throw this on here, make a clipping mask. Another tip, I feel like I've given this tip for clipping masks a lot, but I would say, just in case somebody hasn't heard it, I love doing this. I will make a new layer, and I will make that layer a clipping mask, and then I'll work just under that layer, because if there's a layer that is a clipping mask, directly up above where you're working, any new layer you make is automatically converted to a clipping mask. So then I never have to like keep going down to the bottom and all that jazz.
Okay, this is pretty cool. I think I'm going to have to finally learn how to use clipping masks.
Yeah, I think
Val.
I find them very helpful.
Okay.
I would love, keep me posted. I would love to see how you like them.
Oh man, I mean for me it's a pixel layer and then I control click on the layer to use that as a selection and then I paint in the selection, but there's 5 ways to do the same thing in Photoshop.
That's the thing, is that I think that kind of like what you were saying earlier is everybody kind of does their thing a different way, and
the best process is the one that works the best for you.
The one that works the best for you, the one that sparks the most joy.
Yes.
I dare say,
Yes.
So we've got
this. Like some people are really into naming layers. I mean,
some people are, and some people have layer 127 copy.
That would be me.
Yeah, which is honestly, I tried to be fancy because some of these are named, but as you can see, my honest approach
when you
to
get
the painting.
When you get into it, it's just go. I get it.
I'm just doing my
thing. All right, what are we working on now?
Okay, I like this. I like that effect.
Cool. It even has a little bit of highlight too.
Yeah, like
just in the colors. That's pretty cool.
Works good for me. And
it definitely feels 3D too. With the lighting you're setting up.
And I think that it gives like a really good. Because I didn't use the same texture, I think that it gives a good variation, almost like it feels like whatever this metal material is, maybe it's a strange sci-fi metal, it is kind of like carved into there because it has different textures. I don't want to
go off too much into the woods, so to speak. I actually do woodworking, and it's interesting you did that because when you cut into wood, you definitely see that change.
The different grooves, the different...
So it makes it feel more real.
I think that that's a great likening to this because it's the same kind of thing.
Grain.
I also think that because that's something that transcends multiple kinds of materials, that it's a great way to suggest realism in the work because it's something that people would understand beyond metal, beyond digital painting because it's present in other aspects of life.
Absolutely.
So... but I like this. I think that's good enough for me. I would maybe snag some of this bright color and just kind of dab.
Do you teach any drawing classes or anything like that?
On Adobe Live, but I don't do like
courses
drawing.
Stuff.
Courses type stuff.
The reason I asked is this bit of the conversation is reminding me that a bit of advice I give students is to draw from observation so you can draw from imagination.
Yes.
And it's a bit of wordplay, but even this little texture thing, it seems like a small thing, but it makes such a huge difference.
Absolutely.
I think.
And you do courses and stuff? I assume you do courses. and
I
things.
travel and teach workshops and work with
Nice.
students. I do teach a few 12-week courses during the year, but
Nice.
nothing
Nice.
too major. Again, this is about you, Val. This is about you.
Dang it, Val! Stop
I
being
forgot my
interested in your
spotlight.
friends.
No, it's all good.
So now we've got like this really nice, I think like pretty good looking, like metallic, kind of fantasy-esque ring, which is really cool. And I've kind of, customized this in a really great way just by, kind of checking out these great textures, kind of custom textures within Photoshop, with the Generative Fill.
Yeah, I don't know if you said this or mentioned, or maybe I'm getting ahead, but I like that you're using the generative technology in a way that helps you but doesn't replace what you're doing.
Yeah, and this feels like the most authentic way to use it for me, and I think that everybody has their own process and everybody has their own use cases for it. For me, I personally don't use the features to create like larger portions of my piece because the joyful part for me personally is I love doing that part, but I do like to use it to create the resources that I would normally be hunting hours and hours for.
Yes.
I've got that at my fingertips with this, and it has improved my process exponentially to give me more time to do those points in my process which bring me the most joy.
Absolutely.
So I've got this other like kind of the other
Decorative
pieces
detail on
here,
top.
and I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on time as well because
We're good.
I know,
We're doing okay.
Because we might be doing some other aspects of the illustration. I'd like to color these
They're not
points
getting
in.
rid of us yet.
Okay.
We're
You're
good.
stuck with us.
We have about 38 minutes or so.
Okay, perfect.
33.
I'm going to come in and start adding a little bit more to my piece with the lock transparency. I'm going to not be as precious as I normally am with these portions, though, because I'd
Okay.
like to get them colored in so we can move on to other features and stuff, but I also want them to look pretty. So we're going to just kind of do a similar thing that we were doing before, although I'm going to be a little softer about it, just kind of giving it some
So this is
form.
more lighting or texture for you in this part of the process?
I would say I'm thinking more about trying to make it not look like a flat shape. Like I'm just trying
okay.
to like bring it out of
It's
like
a little bit of light and shadow.
Yeah, a little, just kind of adding some good values in here to make it seem like, okay, this is not just like a weird kidney bean shape over the top of this. This is like perhaps more metal that is like wrapped around where that pin rests on the metal ring. And then the same is true for, we can do the same thing for our needle here. Let's go ahead and just very subtly just kind of give this a little bit of 3D form.
Looks like someone said they would pay for your course.
Really?
That's how much people love you.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
I'll
from
think about it.
Viola, I believe.
Oh my
hope I
gosh,
didn't-
Viola, yeah.
Viola, okay.
Viola is somebody who comes to hang out and watch the
awesome,
W live streams
awesome.
a lot.
I apologize for mispronouncing your name, Viola.
I feel like I get 60% of the names wrong, and I have to ask. So I don't think you're alone in that, but every time I get to ask people how to pronounce their names, we just get to open more conversation and more dialogue. Get to learn more about the community and the chat. So no big deal, I don't think. I'm just gonna kind of give this a little bit of pizzazz here. I want it to be like a little bit shadowed underneath. Oops, not that shade.
The texture almost feels a little hammered. I don't know if that's what you're going for, but yeah.
Kind of like brushed metal is what
cool.
kind of trying to do a little bit something. Let's do like a little dark there. Okay, I think that will work as like, it's kind of sitting in a groove there in that metal below. It's kind of popping out, getting into like 3D space from flat shape. We'll do like a little of that just to kind of pull that out. And then the same thing, let's go to our top
that other
design.
piece there.
Yeah.
So maybe while you're doing this, you can answer this question. Any tips on contrast or kind of help? Because a lot of people struggle with going too dark or figuring out the right values.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to kind of setting up good values and things, I like to stick to like 3 shades to begin with. I think that if you go too hard and you try to like make everything super duper detailed when you're starting to like build that form out, that you can, at least for me, things start to get muddy. You know, I start to get like lose that detail. So what I like to do is I work in like shades of gray, like a soft gray, and I like to use like a darker gray for shadows and a slightly brighter gray for any highlights that need to come into play. Sometimes I'll just grab like a white and I'm just not pressing very hard with my brush so that it adds a little bit. But for the most part, it's like dark, medium, and light. And then as I move into kind of pulling these shapes into a good space as far as the values go, then I can start getting a little more detailed with the various shades of value that I'm using. So simple first, stay simple, keep it simple.
And this is all on the same layer, the gray and the white.
Yeah.
And interesting.
Because I've got my layer locked, and if I wanted to separate them out, I would then just do the same thing, but with the clipping mask, so I can hide and unhide various, portions of the detail that I've been adding. I would say I like to use clipping masks as well when I'm unsure. Like if I'm experimenting with a kind of painting or texture and I'm not sure if I really want to just like go for it and lay all that detail down, using the clipping mask is a great way to do that.
Okay.
I'm going to merge these because I'm going to paint this together and I'm going to call this gems. These are going to be gemstones, and I'm going to suggest some gemstone stuff.
Here?
Yeah. So we're going to do lock transparency.
Are you going to pick all the colors, or should we ask the audience?
Oh, the audience could definitely pick some
think?
colors.
What colors should these gemstones be? Should there be any decorative elements? What do you think? I'm liking it so far. I think she's doing a fantastic job with the lighting and shadow, really bringing out that 3-dimensional shape. So
thank you.
Curious to hear what y'all think.
Tip for painting like gemstones, but like this, by the way. I think that you will find when you really observe what a gemstone actually looks like, it's kind of like, I'm going to be really nerdy here, it's like a lightsaber. Lightsabers aren't actually the color that you think they are. The blade is white, and the glow is the color that you think they are. It's the same with like gemstones. It's like the inside typically is like a fairly dark color, and the highlight points are the thing of that gemstone that is giving you the sense that like, oh, okay, this is a blue gem, this is a green gem. And there can be any number of shades and darkness and light inside of it, but it's not like, I guess it depends on the lighting situation too, but like I'm not going to color this in red and then add some highlights and make it a ruby. There's going to be this dark amorphous like
and then you'll
space.
add that colored light in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like in this place,
We've got
like
some
this
great
is
suggestions,
here.
by the way. We've got enough suggestions to make this an infinity brooch. Okay. We've got yellow.
No snaps in the chat.
No snaps.
No snaps in the chat.
We've got yellow, TARDIS blue, gold, orange, yellow topaz.
I've
been wanting to say add some gold or yellow to this because of the purple, but do your thing. But the yellow topaz could be nice.
Gold accents with purple is my jam.
Yes.
So, let's get royal with it.
Emeralds as well. So
I think emeralds would be great.
We're going to go emerald.
I think emerald and some gold accents.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Biola. Emerald it is.
So I have got just this dark space. I'm starting to come over the top of this with some light shades just to start making it look like it's domed, and then I'm going to snag some white.
I literally just taught a class about shading spheres.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain to someone the little white flecks you're adding and some of the darkness? Like, what is that?
This is a trick question. This is a trap card he's just played, because when I actually explain it, I say, add something. But I don't think that is the professional term.
It doesn't have to be technical, just what you're thinking or how you learn to do this.
I'm trying to feel the shape
of
it, honestly. What I'm trying to do is like, I added that dark point in the center of that. And so to me, that means it's like concave. Like I'm trying to suggest with that value that it's concave. And like when I want to bring something out or show that it's a little closer in this specific instance, using the lighter values around the edge and kind of like curving a lot of those highlight points, I think start to symbolize to the viewer that this is a rounded object that is transparent.
Or probably shiny at least.
Yes.
It looks like little reflections maybe.
I think also you get a lot of good stuff too when you start to put like highlight and shine moments overlapping. So like not just on this top gray, but like overlapping onto that black, because that symbolizes that that thing that is catching the light is in front of all of this stuff in the back,
yes.
and starts to suggest as well that this is not a flat thing, this is a rounded thing. So, you know, we could do that a little bit here too, we could do that a little bit here, maybe not so much on the bottom, but like doing a little bit of that, I think starts to bring it around. Grabbing some of this gray and maybe doing a little bit of, you know, kind of suggests that there's stuff back in there. You know, there's like texture receding into the sphere itself, that sort of thing. So that is my little mini tutorial on painting a gemstone. We'll come in and add some colors to it. I think we are going to go with some good emerald. I'm just going to select a color, but we could actually use generative features, to figure out our color.
There's another idea.
So yeah,
if you're like me and struggle with color, and you're like, how do I find an emerald color? We're gonna generate some emerald, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's grab, and I also want to say that like when I do this, I always start on like an empty layer because I want to create an asset for myself. Like that's kind of the context that I love to use this in. So when I pull out here, I like to do just Control A and select my canvas, and we can do Generative Fill here to do something like, we can say like, textured shards of emerald, crystal, and glass. Just also thinking other stuff.
We might have a little typo there, but in the meantime, there's a question from the chat. They're asking, when you add the color, do you have each color on a separate layer? So I think we're going to get to that next.
Yeah.
If I'm reading your process right here, so maybe we can answer that next as we
I definitely like to, you'll find that there's a bunch of different layers, kind of, ooh, that looks awesome actually. Like you'll find that there's a lot of different steps in that coloring process. I typically always start out all of my work in grayscale because I like to sort that stuff out. What my painting looks like, how things are working together before I make the decisions on color. And to be perfectly honest, I do that because I struggle to choose color palettes sometimes.
Oh, yeah,
I do.
I do all the time.
It's difficult for me. And so I find that if I'm not having to decide how all of the pieces are working together as well as choosing the color for it, then I can kind of relax and develop my piece and then choose colors later when I'm like, can see really what I'm working with. You know, and then I'm like,
then you get the options as
Yeah.
well. And for those watching, like, hopefully you've noticed or seen how quickly this all works, the generative technology. I mean, it takes a few seconds, but it's still less time than, say, hunting a stock image, right?
Yeah.
And you're just interested in the color, and you get something unique. So, and who knows, it might even spur on some other creative thoughts.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
by seeing what you get.
I think that I am, in this case, going to actually select, because I love this area of this right here. I also love like this darker area there. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I've kind of done the same thing I did before, where I've like selected that, duplicated that, created a little texture. I'm going to come in here and like snag that because maybe I should select the right layer. And I'm just selecting with my lasso tool and then duplicating chunks of this out that I really want to use because I love the way that a lot of this stuff looks. I'm thinking maybe a little piece of this as well, even though I've got some of that already. And I'll go ahead and hide that. And now I have like these interesting texture swatches that we can kind of experiment with. So if I go ahead, I'm going to bring these around just so that I can kind of do a similar process with this. We've got our little gems. So let me let's do this middle one here. Let's grab this. I'm going to pop this over here and we're going to clip that. Clipping mask. And I'm going to have to transform because it's clipped, but it was outside.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring that
there
up.
we go.
Yeah, there it is. So doing something like this.
There's more of your dark magic with clipping masks.
Yeah, and I like that this one has like
Some
that,
darks in it.
Yeah, some dark slices in it, kind of. So I'm gonna throw that in there, and then we're gonna do some blend mode magic and kind of experiment with that.
Okay. Blend mode magic.
Yeah, let's just kind of flip through here. That is pretty cool. I love this because it has like this burst of like almost that topaz color in there.
I see now.
So
okay.
then we got the green as well. So we are going to kind of flip through and experiment, see if there's anything else we like really. But I did like that vibe for it, to be honest. Like I said, I go through everything, even though I have specific ones that I like to do, just because I like to see. So we're going to come back to this multiply.
That's not what I thought you were going to do. So color me surprised.
What I wanted there was like colors to use. And here, what I would have done on my own is select a green color like I did before, and then just be like, paint it in and then select some other colors. But here I've got like little swatches of like greens working well with each other. Yeah. And I've thrown this in here. So now I can come in and kind of sample on another layer. I want to kind of clip that as well. And I want to throw some of this yellow in, maybe come over here because I like that like crazy color. Kind of like throw some of that. We can grab some of this other like bluish color that's working well and start throwing that in. And then I will use blending modes over this too to like really,
like change the blending modes of these layers?
Yeah, yeah. And then I would eventually also create a layer to paint directly on, but this then gives me an opportunity to, that's starting to get like that shine, which is really cool. So I like to use it for that too. So I've made myself little texture points that I can, kind of incorporate into a lot of my pieces. I have also created like big, kind of an amalgamation that kind of look like, like all this glass stuff of like, I know I want to illustrate emeralds, but this gives me a great starting point of how emerald colors can work together instead of grabbing a green and hoping it looks emeraldy enough, and I think that I don't want to show that. There we go. I think that it really helps me to kind of focus on this part, which is like painting the gemstone and getting these details in here, which I love doing so much.
Really cool.
We can zoom in too so we can see it maybe a little bit better. But now I'm just painting in color over top because I've got this cool texture.
Yeah.
I've got my my colors chosen, and now I can do the thing that I like doing the most. And I would do this to all of the gemstones really. I don't know if you guys want to watch me paint gemstones the entire time. But
lazy me, I would have just copied those and fit them in. But I like the additional touches you're putting on here because it makes it feel unique. Like you've used the generative technology, you use the texture, you use the color, but you still have it's still Val. Like this is cool.
I feel like it gives me a base, it gives me inspiration, and it gives me a starting place to facilitate and how do I explain this? Like, you ever have a vision creatively, and you have to jump through so many hoops to get to the point where you start really bringing that part of the piece that you thought would be really amazing to life, that by the time you get there, you're kind of exhausted with it?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like with these tools, using it the way that I've been using them, it allows me to get to the point where I'm like, I wanted to do a cool gemstone. Like I got through to that point of like, now I'm here making the gemstone and I still have like that energy and that excitement to go rather than waiting through 3 hours of hunting for resources and doing all of this stuff till, I'm kind of sick of it. So it allows me to get to the point faster and do more of what I love. I'm going to go ahead and hide these. So we've got our metal ring. We've got our gemstone. And another thing, we'll kind of go into rendering more of the aspects, but one thing I'd love to call attention to real quick is a couple of the hiccups that I run into constantly in my illustration work, things that I do wrong all the time, and I think that everybody does these things wrong at some point, and that is, number one, accidentally merging your layers and needing to remove things from backgrounds, be it starting a first sketch and realizing you've been sketching on the white background layer the entire time, or merging layers together and realizing you don't have enough undos to go back.
It's the worst.
Ooh. So I've been using the remove background button for this. So if first of all, I'm gonna like kind of paint in a background, and then I'm going to, non-destructively of course, I am gonna merge them, and then we're gonna use the remove background to save my illustration. So first, let's go ahead and hide our brooch.
She's going to recreate my nightmare. Let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Yes, let's do this. Try not to get too anxious. I'm anxious because I can feel it. But this is how I would actually start a background, to be perfectly honest. I will like come in and like snag some, like a cool texture-y, charcoal-y color and throw it in here. I'm gonna go snag some of the textures that we made earlier.
Way it's not just a flat color.
Yeah, not just a flat color. It has a little bit of personality. It gives me a little bit of intrigue of like, what could I put there? Instead of looking at the flat color, which flat colors work for some people. Maybe that's, maybe you
seeing all
need
sorts
more
of stuff.
clean.
I saw a canyon, I saw a forest scene,
Yeah.
I'm seeing some like mist. This is cool.
All kinds of stuff. But what I like to do is I like to have like a texture-y background, which I could maybe add something to, but just to not have, like you said, flat color. I also like to come in sometimes and grab like a lighter color and almost like pull portions of this out of the background as if it's like smoke, like smoke or fog or, stuff like that. Kind of, I won't be super precious about it really, but just adding like little light points and more darker points and stuff like that. I like it. I like to paint on it.
Alessandra loves how 3D this looks.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's pretty cool too.
I try to pride myself on like,
and that didn't take very long.
Pulling out, something from a flat shape as quickly as possible. I am going to come and find our generative layer because I do want that. So let's pull that outside of our brooch. This is our layer that we were using previously. And I just want to like create a cool background right quick. So we could do the rust texture. I'm going to come back into our properties panel where we still have all the different stuff.
Look at that, it saved all of those for you.
Yep. We can do like, I don't know, let's do like fog. We can put some more like, because I would maybe overlay a fog texture over the top of our background. So let's do like, we could do thick
mist
heavy,
or fog or something.
I wish that what did I do just now? I think I hit the print screen button by accident. That's what I did. I wish I could spell better when I'm live streaming, but I think I've been cursed to like never spell anything right when I'm doing a show. Thick, heavy,
it's okay, we're artists,
and
not
mist.
literary experts.
Yes. I can draw you some heavy fog, but I cannot spell it for you apparently. Let's say texture at the end, because that's not even close to being the word texture. Okay, I think that adding words like texture and stuff really help to create what I'm looking for, which is an asset rather than an image. Yeah, see, so I feel like I get, let's do more. Do like generate a little bit more, because it was a little empty.
One thing I have played with is the shape of the selection too. Like if I know I want fog to be in a certain shape, and then hit generate, it can kind of help sometimes.
I actually like this one, but I wish that it was like more, like had more stuff. Let's say, let's remove.
I know the other cool thing that's coming, for those who watched the keynote yesterday anyways, well, maybe you didn't, but the paint the shape in and then AI like fills it in.
Yes.
Like it's really cool with your text prompt. Pretty sweet.
That's actually kind of cool. It looks like it
cool.
like added like some branches, but maybe that's that's kind of neat. I might go back to this only because I like that it has like multiple
I can see that
stuff, but when I throw it on a blending mode, it'll probably be more prominent. So I'm going to go with this. But yes, the new features that you're talking about, I thought were just fantastic. So I'm pretty excited to see those coming up. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. And I will rasterize and remove that layer mask. And let's go ahead and just throw that onto a blending mode. And you know what we might might do, ooh, I like that.
Okay.
Like adds like a little bit of texture, a little bit of
Okay, that's interesting.
something to us. It's almost like rose gold in the later one, but this looks good to me, I think.
The dark kind of helps it pop a little bit.
Yeah, it makes it a little softer. Like everything kind of fades. But I want more of it. So what I'm going to do is two things with the background. Number one is, let's go ahead and merge. In fact, we can merge all of this.
That's a pretty bold move there.
Yeah. I'm not going to merge the brooch.
Making me nervous.
Let's go ahead and duplicate the brooch, and we'll hide that.
Okay.
But something that might really help you as you're working is if you do something like I have done here, like I have done previously before, and merge all of your stuff so now your piece is flattened onto the background. Something that can really help you is the remove background tool. Now, the remove background tool is interesting because it's not like a subject selection. It's not, well, it is, but it's like, I find that if I want to be a little more precious with what I'm doing a subject selection from my tool bar here is like really clean, nice and crisp. But sometimes if I'm working and I think like I really shouldn't have done this on the same layer, or I've been sketching for an hour on the background layer and there's no way I can undo. I don't want to undo. I want to keep that sketch. Doing a remove background real quick can be really easy. And I think that it's really great because you can see there's some issues with it, but it does it instantly and it creates
a mask.
And it looks like
there's a mask, yeah, so you can go and edit that.
So I can come in and sketch it and create like a perfect, cutout of that. And I feel like that's really great because sometimes I do that with tons of different tiny elements and I need to pull tiny elements out of my background. And so that I think is honestly super helpful. Which you can access directly through the Contextual Task Bar. So, I think with anything illustration, a little noodling and a little tweaking to some of these steps is going to be necessary because we're all going to have a different style. We're all going to be using different texture in our work and everything, and that is just going to be a symptom of, artists being different.
I don't know if everyone's noticing either, but the contextual bar changes as you change tools or if you click on a different thing like a layer. It's pretty cool, so don't sleep on the contextual bar.
Don't sleep on it.
I mean, you can pin it somewhere, but don't sleep on it.
Yeah, just pin it because it's
useful.
Yeah, it is very, very useful. Another thing that I like to do is I like to do generative expand when it comes to my backgrounds because what it does for me is I'm going to go ahead and just grab my crop tool.
That's just through the crop tool.
Yes. It was getting a little squiggly there. I don't know why you're so squiggly. There we go. So maybe I want this to be much longer so I can showcase a lot of this. And instead of typing something in like we did when we were using Generative Fill, is I just want to expand my canvas and generate in a way
So you're just saying, Photoshop, give me what you got.
Yeah, and what I want it to do is kind of create like an expansion of the texture I've already painted. Like take those textures and things that I have made. We are going to try that again.
We'll try it again.
Yeah, we're going to test it out.
There's a lot of internet stuff happening here right now.
But that is, you know what, I feel like it's great because this could happen to anybody.
It can, it
has
happened
to anybody. Let's try that one more time. I just want to kind of add, and maybe I can try to add, some text, but what I wanted to do is just be like, kind of extend and be like, yeah, let's add more of this texture, kind of bring, there we go.
Yep.
So it's like, this is still, I feel like pretty authentic to my personal piece. Like I feel like I have created this texture in the back, and what it's done is, maybe I want this piece to be a little bit larger, and I want it to be able to post it as, this isn't like Instagram story ratio perfectly, but maybe I wanted to, extend something. Like maybe we can make it a little thinner.
For me, if I'm working on something for a client and they're like, hey, can I get it a little bit bigger? Can you move this here? Oh man, this is so nice.
But it sucks when you're like, the client's like, can you do it a little bit bigger? And then you realize that you've illustrated that background to be only what you sent it. Yeah.
Exactly. That, the remove background tool, like this is awesome.
And so now I have I feel like it's my texture made wider, basically, where I'm not having to stretch what I had painted there, but it's like very uniquely blends itself into that, and now I have even more of my background. And I think I want to change the color of this too, so let's go ahead and I'm actually going to convert that to a smart object. And what I'd like to do is do a, let's do, not a mask. I don't want to do a mask. Let's do, stop looking at Wi-Fi.
All right, so smart object puts it in that little container.
Yes,
and
which you can edit again. So if I want to double
tap,
click,
it opens the new file.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it opens up so you can see, what's in there. But what I want to do is do like an adjustment. We could do like color balance, just because I want to kind of apply. Ooh, honestly, the doing something that's green, like our
that
gemstone,
does make it kind of pop.
is gonna be dope. I think.
Yeah.
Preserve luminosity. I think it needs to be darker.
Yeah,
I think it
so
needs to be
too.
darker.
Looks pretty good.
Let's come into our chat. Let's do our highlights, and let's kind of do.
And again, this way it's non-destructive because we have the adjustment layer above that.
Yeah.
We've got the smart object as well.
I kind of like that. Let's go ahead and go back. Ooh, not that much back. There we go. I like that. Let's leave it at that. I think that's good. And then I think, honestly, like what's left for me is like going through and kind of doing a lot of similar things where I'm like trying to create my own little textures and things that I can use to supplement this. And I think that somebody was saying that the gemstones could be like custom Infinity Gauntlet stuff.
Oh, yes.
So I think we could come in and at least put some soft color in there, and then see if we can use Generative Fill to kind of create a little bit more pizzazz within something that I've painted from the start.
All right, well.
Or at least that's what I would do afterwards, because we might be running out of time here.
I know. Good things take time.
Yes.
All right, good things take time. And that's one of the things I appreciate about Adobe Live. You get to see people working in real time. Sometimes, you see stuff on social media, and maybe you get a little depressed because you're like, man, I can't do that as fast as they did.
Yeah.
But little do you know, it takes time. It takes time.
Also, I feel like that all the time. Like, I feel like that's
too.
something that people, when you see somebody doing something and you're like, wish I could do that. Please understand that whenever you look at somebody else's process, you never really know if they went from point A to point B super easy, or if they struggled with that arm or those fingers or that hand for hours before they came to the one they wanted to post. So.
And the other thing I do want to mention is, someone as experienced and talented as Val here, like what you're seeing, those brush strokes, those are the result of years of practice and experience, right? So if you want to get good, you got to put in the work too.
I think that you never really stop practicing too, and so if you struggle with your process and you feel a little unsure or uncertain sometimes, just keep in mind, I think we all feel that way.
Absolutely.
We all do. It's a symptom of being an artist. It doesn't mean that you're not doing a great job.
I agree, and I think it's important to keep it real. We've got the rest of the gemstones here. I guess technically the Infinity Gauntlet has 6, but
it's the Infinity Gauntlet in my heart.
The Infinity Brooch.
Yeah, the Infinity Brooch. Very classy.
What Thanos wears to those important events.
To the galas.
All right. So let's do a quick recap. What did you cover today?
So we covered how to create your own custom textures to add into your illustrations via clipping masks, anything you might need. We also went into, kind of creating images to snag some color palettes directly within Photoshop. And then I also went over some ways to kind of extend your canvas and how I like to use that to create my own backgrounds and various things like that within my illustration. But overall, how I use generative features within my illustration process.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us here live from Adobe Max. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Val, for showing us a little bit of how you work.
My pleasure.
You can find us online. We're pretty easy to find. I'm Spencer Nugent once again, and this is VooDoo Val. And thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care and have a fantastic Max.